Welcome to Living Life in the End for the Successful and Fulfilled Woman. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, the liberated lawyer. I help women to get everything they desire in life by equipping them with powerful strategies to achieve the fulfillment they desire and deserve. Who said you can't have it all? Clearly, they did not know about living life in the end. When women make powerful decisions and create great strategies, they can have everything they desire in life. Girlfriend, forget about choosing between being successful or fulfilled. You can be successful and fulfilled. It's time. It's time for you to get everything you desire and deserve. It's time for you to live your life on purpose. It's time for you to live a life that is fulfilled, meaningful, and full of joy. It's time for you to walk boldly in the power of your decisions. If you are going to be in this world, you need to be fulfilled in this life. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Join me for another episode of Living Life in the End, where you learn how to live fulfilled, fit, and free. Welcome to Designing a Life on Purpose series. You often hear me say at the end of each musing that fulfillment doesn't happen simply because we desire it. It happens when we decide to go get it. Well, this series is going to walk us through the 11 petals of the Successful and Fulfilled Woman framework so that we are equipped to design the life we desire and deserve. Being successful and fulfilled comes about from building a life that is on 3 foundational pillars: being fulfilled, being fit, and being free. And within each of those pillars are petals that enable us to blossom and bloom into the life we desire and deserve. So as we design a life that actually works for us, we can become empowered as we open up each petal that give rise to being successful and fulfilled. Within the fulfillment foundation are the petals: family, friends, love, and purpose. The fit petals are fitness, focus, and faith. And free petals are finances, frolic, fashion, and freedom. So in this series, we're going to walk through each of these petals, and I'll share a little bit of how I have used these in my own life and invite you to use the power of these petals for yourself. Hey, it's time. It's time for Musing from the Mind of Dr. S.D.B., where I share provocative thoughts to help you live your life in the end. Girl, I've got something on my mind. Let me clear something up real quick. Financial freedom is not a feeling. It's not a vision board, and it's definitely not I'll deal with it later. The money gonna come. Freedom is a system. Financial freedom is a system. And if you don't design it, your money will design you. Welcome back to our continuation of not just talking about living well, but talking about living responsibly, intentionally, and honestly. We're stepping into the free pillar. And in the free pillar are finances, fashion, frolic, and freedom. And today we're starting where many high achieving women feel the most tension: finances. Not wealth aesthetics, not soft life fantasies, but real, usable, grown woman financial freedom. Let me be gentle and clear. Struggling with money doesn't mean you're irresponsible. It often means you were never taught systems, only survival. And many of us learn how to earn, how to perform, how to provide, but we weren't necessarily learned how to track, how to plan, how to invest, how to pause before spending. And let's face it, income without structure is not freedom, it's a prison. I often see a post pop up about how we don't stay together like our grandmas stayed with our grandpas. And the truth is, I know for my family, I'm just speaking from my experiences. My granny didn't leave my pawpaw because she had some overwhelming commitment to love and marriage. She did not leave because she could not afford to. She didn't have a job outside the home, and my pawpaw controlled my granny through finances. He gave her a measly little allowance that was barely enough to provide for her 4 children. And she lived in a brick home in a neighborhood where most homes were wooden shotgun houses. She had brand new Buicks because Granny wouldn't ride in a used car. She had all the trappings of success, but she was trapped by her financial situation. And that is the case for a lot of women. We don't do what we truly desire to do because we can't afford to do it. Now, for the high achieving woman, it's not because she doesn't make enough money. We have enough money to buy what we want and do what we want to do. However, we get so caught up in acquiring the trappings of success that we become trapped by our own success. We have income, we spend it, and we create these pretty prisons for ourselves. Financial freedom is not about how much you make. It's about the choices you make with the money that you make. And freedom is not about being rich. It's about having options. Can you say no without panic? Can you pivot without fear? Can you rest without guilt? I remember years ago, one of my friends who is also a mentor and also a woman that I've looked up to my entire legal career. She was she might have been the first, she was the first Black woman partner of the law firm where we worked together, where I started out and where she is now, and was the first Black woman managing partner of the global firm. She is the high achieving woman personified. But I remember a very poignant conversation I had with her when she was, I think this may have been before she made partner, or maybe she was a new partner, somewhere early in her advancement, where she was making a decision about building a house. And she had the money to build or buy an extravagant, extraordinary mansion. But she chose to build a house that would afford her the amenities that she desired, but gave her freedom. And she called it her F.U. Harper card. Harper was the managing partner or the head of her section. And she very wisely knew that indebting herself through an extravagant house purchase would remove some of her power that would not allow her the freedom to just say, you know what? This is not what I want, and I'm going to do something else. And so many of us are enjoying the fruit of our labor to the point where now the fruit has become a poison. Because honestly, money is not the goal with financial freedom. Money is not the outcome we desire. Agency is. And I've had to learn this lesson the hard way myself, because there have been far too many times where I have purchased my way out of agency. I finally have a job that honestly I can do from anywhere in the United States, and with certain limitations, I can do from anywhere in the world. And my desire is to work for 3 months out of the year in Italy. I don't want to move to Italy permanently. I don't want to leave my family and friends behind and live abroad permanently, but I do desire to have a regular cadence where for 3 months out of the year, I live and work in Italy. And with the job I have right now, I can do that. I work remote. I literally can set up my laptop anywhere and work. Now, because I am a licensed attorney, I do have some limitations because you have to have a license in the place where you live. But 3 months does not create residency. And I could go to different places intermittently as long as I maintain, in reality and by definition, a residence in the states where I have licenses. I have licenses in Mississippi, Texas, and Georgia. I could have a residence in any of those 3 states and work from other places intermittently. But the way my finance is set up, the closest I'm going to get to working from Italy is working from an Italian restaurant in my neighborhood on occasion. I have trapped myself in a certain situation because I have become imprisoned by my purchases. And there is a very reachable desire that I have that because I lack financial discipline, I'm unable to do. And it's my own damn fault. I have robbed myself of agency. And so many times we do that. Many times we do it unconsciously. Many times we do it recklessly. And regardless, we do it to the detriment of our freedom. Now, I have come a long way with my finances. I make enough money to do everything I desire to do. I can pay my bills. I can do the things I want to do for the most part. You know, I make enough money. I'm not in a season of lack as it relates to my income. I'm in a season of lack as it relates to my choices. And over my career, since I've been working, since I've been an attorney, I've always made good money. I'm blessed. Well, not always. There was a certain period. I'm going to get to that. But for the most part, I have made good money. But I have also made equally bad, well, not equally bad, exponentially bad money decisions. And one of the things that I have overcome, and I'm not ashamed to say this, is I've overcome impulsive financial spending. Do y'all know that there was a time when I used purchases to escape from the unhappiness in my life? And I literally would get online and lose my damn mind and buy thousands, not hundreds, thousands of dollars worth of stuff in a matter of minutes and not even realize I had done it. It was bad. It was bad. And I remember the first time that I got just incredibly out of control. And it was when I got laid off from my job. During 2002, I lost my job and I lost my mind because I had never, ever in my life experienced that type of devastation. I was the primary breadwinner because at the time my ex-husband was finishing up his internal medicine residency. So he didn't make a lot of money. And we were relying on my salary. And I didn't buy an extravagant house, but I sure wasn't living with no type of FU card to anybody. In fact, I was effing myself. But anyway, lest I digress. But when I lost my job, I lost my income. And not only did I have a difficulty finding another job because everybody lost their job. So it wasn't like I could just go to another law firm because law firms weren't hiring. But it also impacted my self-esteem and my feeling of self-worth. I felt discarded. And then I felt bad because I couldn't find another job. And then I felt really bad because of the effect it was having on my family. We weren't necessarily at risk of losing our house, but it definitely had a negative impact on my family. And I had just had my second baby. So this was postpartum. So just a whole perfect storm of negative impact on my mental status. I found solace in eBay. And I started working at this firm where I was a contract attorney. And it was a demotion in many regards because here I was, a Harvard Law trained attorney with 5 years of big law firm experience. And I was working a contract attorney position that wasn't even on the associate track. I was just doing high level discovery. And I reported to a second year associate named Laura. And that messed with my mind. And I began this crazy mission of trying to compete with Laura. I had to show Laura who I really was, even though she wasn't studying me and wasn't paying attention to anything I was doing. And Laura was fabulous, and she had all these designer bags. And so instead of concentrating on just doing my job to the highest ability and just excelling in my job as I always had, I decided I was going to compete with her and show her, well, I can have designer bags too. Now I didn't have designer bag money because I took a 40% pay cut for this little contract attorney job. And I was also catching up from the time period where I was unemployed. So, I mean, I did not have money to be spending on designer bags, but yet I had to show her that I was as good as her and carried designer bags too. So I started auctioning for designer bags on eBay, and I had amassed, I'm ashamed to say it now, $10,000 worth of Gucci and Prada handbags that I had gotten off of eBay. Y'all, this was the most reckless and irresponsible thing I could have possibly done. Here I was, the mother of two children, primary breadwinner, with a husband who was doing what he was supposed to do, going to work, moonlighting, trying to make extra money. And here I was competing with a woman that wasn't studying me. And that was kind of my first foray into using acquisition to acquiesce my sense of worthlessness. I got in a lot of trouble for it. As you can imagine, husband at the time was not happy when he realized what I had done, as he should have not been. And I got through that, got over it. Eventually, we got through his fellowship. And so I was working this little contract attorney job, competing with Laura, who wasn't studying me. And eventually, he got a position at a health system in Mississippi, and we left Houston. And for the most part, I had kind of gotten past this need to prove myself through my purchases. But I didn't quite have it all the way out of my system. And I was making more money. And eventually my salary, it doubled. And so I was making big money. I was making good money. But my discipline was not aligned with the money I was making. I was making more money than I had sense enough to manage. And I had responsibility for our finances. I was the one, even when my husband at the time began making good money, because his salary was 3 times bigger than mine, he trusted me with our finances. And so I made sure that, the bills were paid. I recommended investments, not investments, but just made sure that we had a financial plan, and not me making the investment decisions myself. But, I managed our finances, and I abused that position, quite honestly, because I couldn't control my impulses. And so that was something I struggled with for years. I was buying like St. John suits. And then it became the house. We bought a house that was a beautiful house, but we didn't really need that big of a house. And we could have gotten just as impressive a house for a lot less money than what we did. But I wasn't making good financial decisions. That's the whole point of it. And it took me years to learn how to not need to prove my worth through my purchases. So I got past that, went through the divorce, and then my finances were funny for a whole nother reason. Because when I got divorced, I did not have a job, and I had this infant business that had not taken off. I had paused it to move our family from Mississippi to Alabama. 10 months after I got to Alabama, my husband asked for a divorce. And then I was focused on transitioning from being married to divorced, and then made the decision to come to Atlanta to start all over again. I didn't come to Atlanta to be frivolous or to run away from my responsibilities. I prayed on it and truly thought that moving to Atlanta was what I needed to do to set a firm foundation for me so that I could rebuild my finances and be a better resource to my sons. Well, it didn't work out that way. And even though I had gotten over the designer bag infatuation, I don't even like St. John's anymore. I think some of it is an aversion to that period in my life, but really that's just not my style anymore. I went through a period of time where I wasn't making any money, and then I lost complete confidence in myself. I didn't have a Georgia license. I could do some limited work in the area of law that I practiced that wasn't quite practicing law, but I could do it. I could do governance work. That's when I started doing a lot of governance work, because that was something I could do professionally and make a little money. Y'all, I worked at David's Bridal. I was drinking a little wine one night and depressed about my situation and looking for jobs. And I applied for a job at Davis Bridal. And like 2 or 3 days later, they called me in and I got the job. So I was working at Davis Bridal for $11.75 an hour. Talk about a complete reversal in my fortunes. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Now, I love that job because I love me some fashion. And I really did have the best time helping those brides pick out the dresses. I love that job. But I was still embarrassed by that job. Because here I was, a Harvard trained attorney. And literally, y'all, the first day I showed up to work, I was wearing a St. John dress and Jimmy Choo boots, making $11.75 an hour. We had to wear black. And so I think I had maybe 5 black dresses. 3 of them were St. John knits. And so I wasn't trying to front on the people. I was wearing what I had in my closet, which happened to be a St. John knit. I still had that dress. I still wear that dress. And some Jimmy Choo boots. Now, I love me some Jimmy Choo. I still wear those Jimmy Choo boots. But I showed up at this $11.75 an hour job in a St. John knit and Jimmy Choo boots. And I felt really stupid about that. Because I think after work, I had to go to the grocery store. And here I was, standing at the Walmart with barely enough money to buy my groceries in a St. John suit and Jimmy Choo boots. And God blessed me. And eventually I found another contract attorney job. And eventually I found an even better paying contract attorney job. Eventually I got my license in Georgia. And so then I got my first permanent attorney position. I went back to practicing law. I gave up being a coach and a speaker and an author because I convinced myself that that wasn't for me. And I lost all confidence, quite honestly. I spent maybe about 2 or 3 years getting myself out of a financial hole. I did that. I wasn't perfect, but I did that. I got myself financially stable enough to buy my own home. And so I really turned my finances around and stabilized myself financially. But what I didn't completely lose was the lack of discipline around my credit card spending. And it's not that I was just going out buying stuff to make myself feel better. This was just a lack of accounting. I would buy stuff and forget I had already bought stuff. And then when the bill came, I'm like, who got my credit card? Then I look and I'm like, oh, that was me. I forgot. So over the years, even though I have never fallen in the financial despair that I experienced from, say, 2018 to 2020, I can't just pick up and go to Italy for 3 months because I don't manage my finances with discipline. So I share all that to one, y'all know, I believe in transparency and vulnerability. I've been there. I'm not preaching to anybody. I'm sharing my experiences. And just like I'm talking to y'all, I'm talking to myself. But here I was, a high achieving woman, making 6 figures, got all the accolades, got all the titles, and yet I knew better. I knew better. Oh, Lord, I knew better. But I wasn't doing what I knew to do. And the thing that I've learned about myself is if I desire to have the life I truly want, I have to do better at doing what I know to do. And I have to have some type of accountability in my spending so that I can track against my goals. Because when I don't track, y'all, I drift way off. I don't just drift off a little bit. I drift way off into the sunset somewhere. And when I justify, then I sabotage myself and I don't get to Italy. And that's not a money problem. That's an avoidance problem. And avoidance is expensive. Y'all, we have to stop living the lie of, I'll fix it later. Because later is the most expensive word in your budget. Because later turns small leaks into raging floods, temporary indulgences into long-term stress, confidence into quiet anxiety. Financial peace doesn't come from having more money. Like Biggie said, more money, more problems. Financial peace comes from paying attention and spending with intention. It's time for us to fully embrace the grown woman money shift. Here's the shift that changed everything for me. So when I embrace evidence over vibes, I can't feel like my finances are good. I gotta know it. I need to see it. I need to see the debits and the credits. And I'm telling y'all, I have struggled with debits and credits ever since college. I had to withdraw from accounting as a sophomore in college because I could not grasp the concepts of debit and credits. I done figured it out now though. So if I desire to have freedom in my finances, I don't get to say, well, I think I'm okay. I think I got enough money. Or I have enough money for it later. I have to ask, what does the data say? I have to look at my bank account. I have to look at the outstanding expenses that have not yet shown up. I have to look at the budget I've set for myself. I have to look at the goals that I've set for myself and ask, what does the data say? Does the data say I can buy this? Because I'm going to tell y'all, I don't buy a whole lot of extravagant things. I buy a lot of stuff for $59.95, $39.95, $49.95. This year, y'all, I am on a subscription release. I have subscribed to so many things. Girl, I will get a subscription renewal notice. I'm like, what is this? I don't even remember subscribing to this. I'm unsubscribing from emails. I'm unsubscribing from people. I'm unsubscribing from activities. I'm unsubscribing for things that are draining me of my financial freedom. And that's why finances are a petal. They're not the whole flower. They affect everything, but they don't define you. Unless you lack the discipline to manage your finances in a way that gives you freedom rather than puts you in a prison. Because financial freedom requires visibilities. You got to look at the data, look at the credit card statement, look at the bank account, look at the list of emails with order confirmations. You got to look at all that stuff. You got to look at the subscriptions and ask yourself, do I really need this? What is this? When did I even do this? Financial freedom requires boundaries. You got to limit yourself. I can have everything. I just can't have it all this month. I can't have it all this quarter. I can't have it all this year. Financial freedom requires discipline. You have to set the budget and follow the budget and check against the budget and confirm that you're following the budget. And you adjust the budget to achieve the financial goals you desire. You don't adjust the budget to spend more. You adjust the budget to ensure that you stay on track with the goals you set for yourself. And then financial freedom requires grace. You got to recover without quitting. And when you realize that you've gotten off track, give yourself grace, but don't give yourself permission to stay off track. Go back to the data, rework the numbers, and get yourself back on track. Because there's no shame in rebuilding. I am no longer ashamed of having worked at David's Bridal for $11.75 an hour. That was fun. I had a good time. And I can say that I was a positive presence in those brides' lives. And it really gave me joy to help them pick out a dress for their special day. And it helped me to rekindle my belief in love. I lived through their excitement about marrying the man of their dreams. That was a fun job. The closest I'm ever going to get, though, to doing that again, I might have my own design house. I might be the next Vera Wang and design my wedding gown and then decide, hey, if I designed it for myself, I can design it for other women. Because y'all know what Vera Wang did. She was in She was like in her 40s. I forgot what her career was before, maybe something in finance or business. And she couldn't find a dress that she liked. She designed her own dress for her wedding and then decided, you know what? I'm pretty good at this. I'm going to make a business of it. And now she is the icon Vera Wang. I used to sell a lot of Vera Wang dresses. But anyway, lest I digress. That's the closest I'm going to get. I will not put myself in a position where I got to work at David's Bridal for $11.75. God has given me greater, and I'm going to take advantage of that. So there's no shame. There's no shame in rebuilding. There's no shame in pretending. There is no shame in acknowledging that you are a prisoner of your own financial decisions. Because just like you made decisions that put you in prison, you can now make decisions that free you, free your life, and free your purpose. So here's some questions to ask yourself. Do I know my real numbers, or am I guessing? What emotion drives my spending? What would change if I stopped avoiding the truth of my finances? And here's the big one. What would financial freedom make possible in my life? In the free pillar, finances are about reducing dependence, increasing choice, and supporting, sustaining, and expanding the life you're building, not sabotaging it. Because you can be stylish. I am just as stylish in the non-designer clothes that I buy now than I ever was in them St. John suits. Because regardless of what I pay for any of my clothes, I have good clothes. I have well-made clothes. I got some inexpensive clothes, and I look good in all of them because I make the clothes, not the name that's in the label. We're going to talk about that more when we talk about the fashion petal. But you can be stylish. You can be joyful. You can enjoy your life. But freedom, true freedom, requires intention. If you want to know how your finances petal is really doing and how it interacts with your friendships, focus, and faith, take the Fulfilled, Fit, and Free profile. Go to livelifeintheend.com. And if you're ready to move from awareness to action, book a complimentary revelation conversation at everythingidesire.com, where we can design a grounded 90-day financial reset that fits your real life. Money is not morality, but how you manage it affects your peace. The most sleep I've ever lost at night has been worrying about my finances that has resulted from a less than smart choice that I've made. Financial freedom is one of the things that helps you sleep at night. Freedom is not a vibe. It's not how you feel. It's not how you look. It's not by the appearance of things. It's a practice, a commitment to discipline, a commitment to data, a commitment to choices. And grown women practice on purpose. Next up, we'll delve into fashion, expression without apology, because freedom should be seen and felt. Until then, live life in the and. Secure, intentional, and free. Well, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for joining me for another musing from the mind of Dr. SDB, where I share provocative thoughts to help you live your life in the end. I hope you learned something. I hope you felt something. But most of all, girl, I hope you do something. Fulfillment won't happen because you desire it. This episode was brought to you by the Successful and Fulfilled Woman New You Transformation, a VIP day for the high achieving woman who is ready to be successful and fulfilled. If you are a woman who feels burned out and uninspired, or you are a woman ready to start over after a divorce, death, or other disruption, or you are a mother whose children are ready to leave the nest or are already gone, and you are now ready to create a meaningful life for yourself, or you are a woman who's approaching your golden years and you want the next half to be the best half, or you are a woman who's ready to get more out of life and ready to stop marking time and start living life, then we need to have a revelation conversation. Go to www.everythingideserve.com to schedule your complimentary revelation conversation, where together we will talk about where you are now and where you want to be, and begin to develop a plan to get you where you desire to be. You will leave your revelation conversation understanding the first thing that you can start doing today to begin living a successful and fulfilled life. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Living Life in the End for the Successful and Fulfilled Woman. Please be sure to let me know what made you feel something, what you learned, and what moved you to action. Please subscribe so you don't miss out on a great conversation. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast and let me know how you are living life in the end. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Don't keep all this goodness to yourself. Tell someone else to listen for themselves. We should all be fulfilled. Remember, your life is the product of your choices. Choose to commit to bringing the desires of your heart to completion. You don't get what you deserve until you get what you decide. Life is too long to be unfulfilled.